In broad daylight, the challenge happened where no one expected it. The sun was high. The place was open. The crowd was watching. There was no darkness to hide fear. No shadows to hide doubt. Bolo Yeung stepped forward with confidence written on his face. He did not hesitate. He did not pause. He looked directly at Steven Seagal and smiled. That smile was not friendly. It was the smile of someone who believed strength fades with time. It was the smile of someone who thought age equals weakness. People around them felt the tension rise. Phones slowly lifted into the air. Whispers moved through the crowd. Bo spoke loudly so everyone could hear. He mocked Steven openly. He questioned his reputation. He laughed at the idea that an older man could still command respect. Steven Seagal did not respond. He did not argue. He did not react. He stood calm. His posture relaxed. His eyes steady. That silence confused people. Some thought he was afraid. Some thought he was ignoring the challenge. But those who truly understood experience felt something different. They felt control. They felt confidence without noise. Bolo took the silence as permission. He stepped closer. He spoke again, even louder. He believed the crowd was on his side. He believed the moment belonged to him. He believed history had passed Steven by. What he did not understand was this. Real power does not announce itself. Real strength does not rush. Steven remained still as the noise grew. Every second stretched longer. Every breath felt heavier. The crowd waited for words. They waited for excuses. They waited for a response. What they did not know was that the response would not be verbal. It would not be dramatic. It would not be loud. In just a few seconds the truth would surface. Not through shouting. Not through ego. But through action. And when that moment arrived, Bolo Yeung would understand something too late. Age is not weakness. Experience is danger. It was a sunny afternoon, and the heat of the day rested gently over the open ground. The sky was clear and bright, making every movement easy to see. This was not a hidden gym or a private hall. This was a public martial arts demonstration meant for everyone. Families stood in small groups. Students sat near the front. Veterans of the art watched carefully from the sides. Cameras were already rolling before anything happened. Some were professional. Some were held by fans. Others were simple phones lifted with curiosity. The air carried excitement mixed with expectation. People had come to learn. They had come to watch skill and discipline. They had come to witness respect between warriors. Steven Seagal stood near the center of the open ground. He was dressed simply. No flashy clothing. No dramatic entrance. His posture was relaxed. His hands rested naturally. His eyes moved slowly across the crowd. He was not there to perform. He was not there to impress. He was there to observe. Many people did not recognize him at first. Without cameras pointed directly at him, he looked like an ordinary man. Calm, quiet, grounded. Those who knew his history noticed something else. The way he stood. The way he breathed. The way he watched everything without moving. That stillness carried weight. Then the mood shifted. Bolo Yeung walked in from the side with confident steps. His presence was loud even before he spoke. His shoulders were squared. His smile was wide and proud. People recognized him instantly. Whispers spread quickly. Heads turned. Bolo enjoyed the attention. He fed off it. He laughed as he walked forward. His eyes locked onto Steven. The smile on his face turned sharper. He spoke loudly, questioning Steven's reputation. He joked about age. He laughed as if the outcome was already decided. Some in the crowd laughed with him. Others stayed silent, unsure of what was coming. Steven did not respond. He did not correct him. He did not defend his name. He simply stood there watching quietly. That silence created discomfort. Be on the lookout expected words. He expected resistance. He expected an argument. Instead, he was met with calm. The cameras captured everything. The sunlight revealed every expression. There was no place to hide ego. The crowd felt the tension build slowly. This was no longer a demonstration. This was turning into a moment of pride versus discipline. Backhand index pointing right. Comment below and tell me where you are watching from. Backhand index pointing right. Respect to those who stay calm under pressure. Bolo began to circle Steven slowly. Each step was deliberate. Each movement was meant to dominate the space. He spoke while moving. Not softly. Not with control. His words were sharp and loud. He questioned the past. He mocked the idea of legends. He said time takes everything. He said age steals power. He said reputations survive only in memory. The insults were not rushed. They were calculated. He wanted the crowd to hear every word. People around them reacted immediately. Some shook their heads. Some leaned forward. Others raised their phones higher. A low murmur spread through the audience. It sounded like anticipation. It sounded like tension. Everyone expected drama. Everyone expected a response. Everyone waited for Steven to speak. But Steven remained silent. His eyes stayed focused. Not angry. Not distracted. He watched Bolo without blinking. He measured distance. He tracked movement. His breathing stayed steady. Slow. Controlled. That calm was unsettling. It did not match the noise around him. It did not match the insults thrown his way. Bolo mistook that silence for weakness. He stepped closer. He raised his voice even more. He spoke about youth. He spoke about strength. He spoke as if the past was already buried. The crowd shifted. The murmurs grew louder. The air felt heavier with each second. Steven did not move. Not his feet. Not his shoulders. His stillness was deliberate. It was not hesitation. It was preparation. Those with experience noticed it. They saw the balance in his stance. They saw the calm behind his eyes. They understood what others did not. A fighter who is truly ready does not rush. Bolo continued circling. His confidence grew with every unanswered insult. He believed control belonged to him. But control was already somewhere else. Steven's presence began to change the atmosphere. The noise felt louder. The silence felt deeper. Every breath seemed amplified. Every footstep echoed. Time felt slower. Seconds stretched. The moment refused to move forward. Bo stopped briefly and stared. For a split second doubt crossed his face. Then pride pushed it away. He laughed again. He raised his hands. The crowd held its breath. They could feel something coming. Steven remained exactly where he was. Calm. Balanced. Ready. His stillness pressed down on the moment. It made the tension heavier. It made the silence louder than any insult. And everyone there knew. This was no longer about words. Without warning, Bolo Yeung lunged forward. The sound of his footsteps echoed across the open ground. He aimed to dominate, to prove strength, to silence the quiet calm of Steven Seagal. The crowd leaned forward in anticipation. Some held their breath. Some whispered to their neighbors, expecting a long fight. Some raised their phones, ready to capture every second of action. Bolo's movement was fast, powerful, and precise. Muscles tensed, arms aimed for control. He wanted to make a statement. But Steven Seagal did not react in the way anyone expected. There was no hesitation, no panic, no overreaction. Instead, he shifted his weight just slightly. One step to the side. It was almost imperceptible to the untrained eye. But it was enough. Enough to change the angle of impact. Enough to redirect force without effort. Bolo's strike missed its target. Momentum carried him forward. And in one clean, controlled movement, Steven applied a technique that was subtle but decisive. The technique was not violent. It was precise. It was efficient. It utilized Bolo's own force against him. Bolo fell instantly. The ground shook slightly as he hit it. His body landed in a way that left no room for recovery. The crowd gasped. Some screamed. Some could not believe what they had seen. The powerful, legendary Bolo Yeung, who had challenged the master, was down in seconds. For a moment there was silence. The kind of silence that fills every corner of a space and leaves everyone holding their breath. No one moved. No one spoke. Then whispers began. Did he just... Was that real? He didn't even try to fight back. He just controlled him. Bo struggled briefly, realizing the situation. His pride and strength were still present, but the lesson had been delivered. In the time it took to blink, everything had changed. The crowd looked at Steven Seagal with new respect. His calm had turned into power. His stillness had turned into action. His experience had turned into dominance without arrogance. This was no ordinary display of skill. It was a demonstration of mastery. It was a lesson in control, precision, and patience. And it had all happened in the bright daylight, visible to everyone. Some in the crowd began clapping slowly, uncertain at first. Others shouted, amazed by the speed and control. The atmosphere was charged with awe and disbelief. Bolo Yeung, now on the ground, realized the truth. The challenge ended before it even began. His attempt to dominate had failed instantly. He had underestimated the man standing quietly in front of him. Steven did not gloat. He did not celebrate. He merely stood calm. His eyes scanned the crowd. His breathing remained steady. His presence alone was enough to command attention and respect. In that moment everyone understood. Real skill does not announce itself. True mastery is quiet until action is needed. And arrogance is always revealed under the right pressure. The lesson had been delivered in seconds. The crowd had witnessed it in broad daylight. And no one would forget what had just happened. Bolo Yeung struggled to rise from the ground. His pride burned hotter than the sun above. He flexed his arms, pushed with effort, but each movement reminded him of the truth he had ignored. The ground beneath him felt heavier than before, as if it held the weight of his mistake. The crowd remained still. A strange hush fell over the open space. The sunlight illuminated every expression, every reaction, every movement, and yet no one dared break the silence. Even the wind seemed to pause, carrying the tension across the wide demonstration area. For a few seconds it felt like time itself had slowed. Everyone realized they had witnessed more than a martial arts display. They had seen a lesson in humility, in patience, and in respect. Bolo's face betrayed what he could not say. Shock, disbelief, and a sudden understanding painted every line. The arrogance that had brought him forward had dissolved instantly. Then, almost quietly, an announcer's voice broke the stillness. Not loud, not dramatic, just enough for those close to hear. Steven Seagal. The whisper traveled quickly. It rippled through the crowd. Eyes widened as the truth began to sink in. This was not just another martial artist. This was not a competitor to be laughed at. This was Steven Seagal, the legend whose skill and experience had transcended time. The same man who had once dominated stages, screens, and arenas around the world. Bolo's body froze mid-struggle. His hands still pressed against the ground, but his mind was racing. The realization hit hard. Every insult he had thrown, every movement he had made to challenge Steven, every thought that he could outmatch this man, it was all wrong. The crowd felt it too. A collective gasp seemed to echo across the open field. Some shook their heads. Some held their hands to their mouths. Some were already lowering their phones, unsure how to capture what had already been captured in memory. Bo looked up, squinting under the bright sun, finally meeting Steven's calm gaze. The eyes were steady, unshaken, and full of quiet authority. There was no malice, no satisfaction, only awareness. Only the silent strength of someone who knew their own power but never needed to prove it. In that moment Bo understood something that would not leave him. Arrogance is dangerous. Pride is fragile. Respect is earned, not assumed. And when you underestimate someone based on appearances, age, or reputation, the consequences can be instant and humbling. The crowd began murmuring again, but now it was a murmur of awe, of reflection. Some young students whispered among themselves, trying to absorb the lesson they had just witnessed. Veterans of the art nodded quietly, recognizing the mastery displayed. Even casual spectators felt the weight of the moment, as if they had just watched history unfold in slow motion. Bolo finally managed to rise, slowly, carefully, his pride tempered by reality. He could no longer speak the insults that had defined his challenge. His challenge had ended before it even truly began. Every movement, every word, every ounce of effort had been redirected by the calm and precise skill of Steven Seagal. Now, the decision lay in the hands of the crowd. What should come next? Should Bill be met with judgment, or should this be a moment of respect and reflection? Backhand index pointing right, fire or respect. The choice is yours. And the learning doesn't end there. What should Steven teach next? What wisdom, what skill, what silent lesson should be shared with those who came to witness the display? Backhand index pointing right comment what Steven should teach next. The sun continued to shine, illuminating the field. The day was bright, but the lesson had cast its own shadow, one that would remain long after the cameras stopped rolling. Every spectator knew they had witnessed more than a challenge. They had witnessed a demonstration of true mastery, humility, and the undeniable power of calm, controlled action. After the moment of shock and silence, Steven Seagal moved toward Beyond the Lookout Yeung. His steps were calm, measured, and deliberate. There was no rush, no urgency, no drama. Every movement carried control, awareness, and respect. Bo remained on the ground for a moment longer, catching his breath, his chest rising and falling quickly under the sunlight. He looked up at Steven, still processing what had just happened. For the first time, he felt the weight of humility pressing down on him. The pride that had brought him here moments ago had dissolved. Without a word, Steven extended his hand. It was not a gesture of superiority. It was not meant to gloat or assert dominance. It was simply a hand offered in acknowledgement, in respect, and in quiet resolution. Bolo hesitated, unsure what to do. For a moment, ego battled with reality. But the truth of the situation was undeniable. He took the hand, letting Steven help him rise. The crowd watched intently. Some held their breath, expecting words, expecting confrontation, expecting some dramatic display of victory. But there was nothing of that sort. Steven did not speak. He did not boast. He did not deliver a lecture. Instead, he simply gave a quiet nod. A nod that said more than words ever could. A nod that communicated understanding, acknowledgement, and silent mastery. The act itself was simple. The gesture unassuming. Yet the message was powerful. It was a lesson in humility. A lesson in control. A lesson in the strength of calm over chaos. Bolo Yeung stood fully upright now, his chest heaving. He looked around at the crowd. He looked back at Steven. And he felt something shift inside him. Respect. Recognition. Understanding. No one had shouted. No one had raised a fist. And yet, the lesson had been delivered with clarity that no words could match. The sun continued to beat down on the demonstration area. The bright light highlighted every face, every movement, every reaction. The moment was imprinted into the minds of the spectators. Some clapped quietly, not wanting to break the solemnity of the scene. Some whispered, awed by what they had witnessed. Some simply watched, knowing that they had seen something rare, a true display of martial skill combined with wisdom and restraint. Bolo, still recovering, realized that this was more than a physical lesson. It was a life lesson. A reminder that power is not measured in arrogance or loud displays. True strength lies in the ability to control oneself, to act with precision, and to command respect without seeking it. Steven did not linger. He did not turn to the crowd or pose for the cameras. He merely stepped back, maintaining his calm and composed demeanor. His presence alone had communicated what words could not. In helping Bolo up without pride, without celebration, Steven demonstrated mastery beyond the physical. He showed that true power is quiet. That true respect is earned through action, not through noise. That the most important lessons are often delivered without anger, without boastfulness, and without theatrics. The crowd slowly exhaled, some shaking their heads in amazement. Bo looked at Steven one final time, silently acknowledging the lesson. He had been humbled, but he had also been taught something far greater than any victory or defeat. The sun shone down on the demonstration ground. And in that brightness, the lesson remained clear. Strength is measured not by how loudly you strike, but by how silently you teach. Respect is earned not by fear, but by demonstration. And mastery is proven not in victory alone, but in the calm way it is delivered. As the sunlight continued to illuminate the demonstration ground, the crowd slowly absorbed what had just unfolded. Bolo Yeung had learned a hard truth, and everyone watching learned alongside him. This was more than a display of martial skill. It was a demonstration of life lessons, quietly delivered in broad daylight. Real strength does not shout. It does not demand attention. It does not need to prove itself to the world. Strength is measured in control, in precision, and in the way a person carries themselves when others expect chaos. Steven Seagal had shown that mastery is quiet, deliberate, and calm. Experience speaks in silence. It does not rely on words, on boasting, or on displays of ego. It reveals itself in the small, deliberate actions that leave no doubt about capability. The way he moved, the way he controlled Bolo's momentum, the way he remained composed, all spoke louder than any words could. The crowd felt it. Every whisper, every breath, every eye in that open space understood the message. Respect must come before challenge. No one can demand respect. No one can assume it. It must be earned, given freely, and maintained in action. Bolo Yeung had stepped forward with pride and confidence, expecting the outcome to favor him. The moment he underestimated Steven, the lesson became clear. Respect is not about fear. It is about acknowledgement. It is about understanding the experience and wisdom of those who have walked the path before you. The audience began to murmur softly. They discussed what they had just seen. Some spoke about skill. Some spoke about humility. Some reflected on how easily arrogance can be humbled when faced with true mastery. Even those who had doubted Steven's age or experience now understood that wisdom does not fade with time, it grows. In broad daylight, under the warmth of the sun, the lesson remained visible to all. Every gesture, every movement, and every calm reaction had left a mark. It was clear that true power is not measured by force alone, but by the ability to act with precision and control. It is measured by restraint. It is measured by understanding the moment and responding appropriately. Bolo Yeung had been humbled, but the experience was not meant to shame him. It was meant to teach. It was meant to show that even the strongest and most confident must remain aware, grounded, and respectful. Strength without humility is fragile. Power without discipline is dangerous. The crowd slowly began to applaud, not the loud, chaotic cheer of entertainment, but a measured recognition of what they had witnessed. They had seen something rare: mastery in action, humility in power, and respect as the foundation for true strength. The cameras continued to record, but the most important lesson could not be captured fully on video. It had to be felt. It had to be understood. It had to be carried forward. Steven Seagal stepped back, his presence still commanding attention without demanding it. He nodded quietly to be on the lookout Yeung, acknowledging the lesson learned. There was no gloating, no prideful display, just quiet recognition that the moment had passed, the lesson delivered, and the respect earned. Backhand index pointing right type respect if humility matters. This is more than just a word. It is a reminder that real strength begins with self-control, awareness, and consideration for others. Backhand index pointing right, tell me your country so I can thank you personally. Because respect and humility are universal values. They transcend borders, ages, and backgrounds. Everyone watching, no matter where they are, has the opportunity to learn from this moment. As the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows across the demonstration ground, one thing remained clear. The lesson of the day was not about winning or losing. It was about the quiet power of experience. It was about earning respect, showing humility, and acting with intention. It was about understanding that real strength does not shout, that experience speaks in silence, and that respect must always come before challenge. And for everyone who witnessed it, either in person or through the cameras, the impact would linger far longer than the moment itself. Because true mastery leaves an impression that words alone cannot convey. It teaches through presence, through action, and through the quiet authority of a life lived with discipline, respect, and unwavering skill.